Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris and welcome to another Top 10 LEGO minifigure video, the show where we count down the best of the best figures across every single year of LEGO. We started off with 2021, went down to 2020, 2019, and now we are going to cover the top 10 best collectible minifigures of 2018, because last time we covered the top 10 best non-collectible minifigs of 2018. Of course, this is just my opinion and I'd love to hear yours, so after you see the video, let me know down in the comments below, do you agree, do you disagree, do you think my order should have been shuffled around, or is there anything that you feel was missing from my list, or any of your personal favorites that you own? And with that, we can probably start off with number 10.
Alright, so starting off this list with number 10 here, we have what actually is not a minifigure at all. This is the only pick on this list from the special Unikitty collectible quote-unquote minifigure series, where instead of minifigures, we got different builds of Unikitty as the blind bag figures. Specifically, my personal favorite from this entire series, and really the only one that I feel belongs on this list, was the dinosaur Unikitty costume. Honestly, it's just because it's just really adorable. It's literally Unikitty dressed up in a T-Rex slash Godzilla-like costume. That's really all there is to say about it. Sure, the print detail is nice, you've got printing on all different sides of the 1x3 arch brick, but at the end of the day, this is just a fancier printed brick. It really isn't a minifig, but it does count under the banner of collectible minifigs, which is why it's on this list. It's number 10 again because it isn't technically a figure, but it's just a really cute kind of animal-like character that I feel deserved a spot at least on the end of this list. Moving onwards to number 9, it's time to take a look at the specialized costume minifigure series, starting off with the cowboy costume guy. Now this figure is actually really special because it has a very specialized mold for a person riding a horse as an outfit. It's a really interesting mold that kind of looks like the classic LEGO horse, just really scaled down, and honestly I just really find the concept behind this figure to be really unique and new. It has the front legs of a horse, and the bottom legs are meant to be a person in a horse outfit, and the upper legs are just the person's regular torso in a cowboy outfit. You can see these sorts of things in real life, but you've never really seen a minifigure wearing a costume like this until this figure, and we probably won't ever see a figure like this again. It's just a really unique design for a minifigure that I feel they actually translated pretty well. You can clearly see it's supposed to be a cowboy pretending to ride a horse, and that specialized horse mold is very charming. All in all, this is just one of my favorite personal minifigures from this particular series, but there's still a lot more and there's a lot better ones to get to, so let's now move on. Coming in at number 8, we have our first pick from the LEGO Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts first series of collectible minifigures. This is the Percival Graves figure. Now, I will have to mention that this is a pretty controversial figure. You see, when the Harry Potter / Fantastic Beasts series first came out, they made this a quote-unquote chase figure. Much like the classic policeman in the costume series, this figure was limited to really only one per box, as opposed to the normal 3 or 4, which made him just that much more rare to get. Pretty arbitrarily, may I add. That being said though, this figure is actually pretty nice because it actually depicts 2 different characters. The main character this is named after is Percival Graves, who was the current head of the American kind of equivalent of the Ministry of Magic. However, as was revealed in the very first Fantastic Beasts movie, spoilers, this was actually the evil dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald in disguise, and as such, the minifigure actually includes 2 different hair pieces to simulate the 2 different characters, and a reversible head that showcases the Grindelwald side on one side and the regular Graves side on the other. Besides that, this of course is just a fully detailed minifigure as well. I really like the attention to detail with the arm printing on the side, and for once, the white printing on the black plastic actually turned out really well here. Of course, this isn't the most detailed of figures. Really, the only special things about this in terms of design are the specialized printing on the sides of the black hair to kind of show the graying ends, as well as the arm printing. I just think it's just a really good representation of the character in minifigure form, and it definitely is an added bonus that this is technically 2 figures in one. With that though, it's now time to move on to our number 7 pick on this list. This is an entry from the LEGO Batman Movie Series 2 figures, and this specifically is the Clock King. Now the Clock King, besides being a very nicely detailed minifigure with printing on the sides of the arms and the legs, has an excellent parts usage that I absolutely had to put the figure on this list because of it. You see, the specialized clock piece on the head is not a new mold. Instead, as you turn it around, you might get a hint as to what exactly this is. Notice how there are specially molded gears on the back of the head to represent the clock faces. Well, you see, these were not actually gear holes, these were instead eye holes for the gingerbread men. This mold actually was for the Gingerbread Man collectible minifigure, and later on was used in the gingerbread house from the LEGO Winter Village line. It's just a brilliant reuse of the mold that honestly I'm surprised LEGO actually did. It's fairly rare that LEGO will reuse specialized molds like these in different purposes. They did it before with LEGO Legends of Chima, where they reused a Yeti head sculpt from collectible minifigures for a beaver, but this is honestly even more inspired. It's taking the gingerbread head mold and turning it into something completely different for the face of the Clock King. And for that, this minifigure deserves a higher place on the list, even if the rest of the figure isn't the most detailed. With that though, we can now move on to our number 6 spot. And coming in at number 6, we have another entry from the Series 2 LEGO Batman series, and this is the Black Canary figure. Now this just barely edges out the Clock King just because I really do feel like this is pretty much the perfect representation of a classic DC Comics character. Black Canary has always been one of the main Green Arrow kind of side characters. She's pretty much a major hero in her own right, and it's really cool that LEGO perfectly depicted the comic book version of Black Canary in a minifigure format like this, especially because she was just barely in the background of a couple scenes in the LEGO Batman movie. I really do like how the fishnet printing continues onto the sides of the legs. It's done pretty much perfectly, and of course, as you can see when we rotate it around, the legs are not dual molded, but they didn't need to be, because really all they needed were just the specialized side printing for the fishnets, which comes across really well. The upper torso is again also a great representation of the character itself. I really do like the way the lighter blue jacket contrasts with the darker blue, and all in all, that face print as well is a very cartoonish but very accurate face print to showcase her singing in this case or screaming in every other case for the Canary Cry. With that, we can now move on to our number 5 spot on the list. And coming in at number 5, we return to the first series of the Wizarding World series. This is Queenie Goldstein, another character from the Fantastic Beasts movie. Now this character does have a few shortcomings, but all in all, it is a very good effort for a character as detailed as this. So starting off with the positives here, I really love the specialized new mold for the bread piece. I'm very sad we never actually got that piece ever again outside this minifigure as the time of this recording. I really do wish that LEGO would reuse more collectible minifig accessories outside of just the minifig series, but as it is right now, that very specialized, tasty looking bread is just kept exclusive to the Queenie Goldstein minifigure. What is very special about this, however, is that there's actually some very nice metallic pink printing. You can see where the light catches the center torso there. There's a metallic pink kind of area on the chest piece here. It's a really nice kind of style of print, and I really do like the way it looks. Now, one thing I do want to mention is, as you can see, the legs are dual molded, but to be honest, this kind of highlights a big issue in terms of quality control for the LEGO group. As you can see, the way the legs are supposed to be set up is that she's wearing this kind of blouse or pajamas-like nightgown here, where half of the upper part of the dark blue piece goes to the upper part of the leg on the right leg, or the left leg, depending on your point of view, and then it kind of goes down lower on the other leg. So one leg gets higher, one leg gets lower. As you can see though, the way they wanted to do this was they dual molded the bottom part of the leg to have the kind of regular tan skin color, but then they tried to print the rest of the tan skin color on the dark blue plastic, and honestly, that did not turn out well whatsoever. At some angles, it looks like there's literally 3 different shades of skin color here, because you have one layer of the standard LEGO skin color plastic, or the nougat plastic, you have another layer that's the nougat color printed on dark blue, and then you have a little bit of extra printing of the nougat color again on the nougat colored leg. So you've got double nougat printing on one, single nougat printing in plastic, and then single nougat printing on dark blue, which all makes for not the most cohesive figure, but I really do appreciate the attempt and effort, and honestly, if they had nailed the printing, this would have been the perfect figure, because you can see just how detailed it is in terms of having these slippers on, you've got the nightgown going all around. It's just a really nicely detailed minifig in general that's honestly just kind of let down by the printing standards that LEGO had at the time. With that though, we can now move on to our number 4 pick on the list, and returning to the specialized costume series of the standard collectible minifigures, we have the race car guy. So the race car guy is really cool to me for a number of reasons. First of all, he obviously has a brand new mold for a miniature race car, which also could be used by little figures. You could kind of pretend that it could be used as a standard little car race car for microscale dioramas. It's just a really nice piece to have in general. Besides that though, this minifigure obviously is very detailed. He's got printing on the sides of the legs, arms, and for the first time in a while, printing on the side of the helmet, which looks really cool and something I wish LEGO did more often, because that absolutely makes the helmet stand out from being just your traditional LEGO motorcycle or biker race car styled helmet. It really does feel very special to have the printing continue all the way down along the sides, and I wish that LEGO had the technology to do this at a regular basis. But what's really special about this is the face and the logo on the torso. You see, longtime fans of older LEGO games may recognize this character as an updated modern version of the classic Rocket Racer from the very first and second LEGO Racers video game series. Now, when I was a kid, I have a lot of nostalgia for this because I used to play the LEGO Racers game all the time. I was obsessed with it. I tried rebuilding the cars from the game. My favorite thing about the LEGO Racers game is that it tied together different LEGO themes. You could be driving through an adventurers level and all of a sudden you're transported into the UFO land. You could be going through the Explorians Guild and then all of a sudden you're transported to LEGO Castle. Really, the possibilities were endless. It combined every current original LEGO theme at the time, and that's why I loved it so much. And this was a great way to pay homage to a classic LEGO game that is absolutely a fan favorite. If you look closely at the torso, you'll notice the text that literally says R Racer, making it unmistakably the character from the classic series of LEGO games. And oh, as you can see, you can actually place a little LEGO Games microfigure in the car, and that works out as a little chibi car as well. So what's not to love about this fantastic figure? With that though, we can now move on as we get to our top 3 figures. Coming in at number 3, we return to the Batman movie Series 2, and that is the Bat Merch version of Batgirl. So I chose this one mostly just because of the technical level of detail in terms of producing this figure. Not only does this figure sport a brand new hood and hat mold, which is absolutely very useful for, say, people wanting to create LEGO elves with hoods on them, but it also has a lot of really excellent printing along all different sides of the figure. As you can see, each of the arms has different text printing on it, from #1 Batfan to different stripes on it. Really just a useful figure to get in general, and while the legs are fairly plain, I can certainly see this just being kind of a fun background character to be used in different sorts of DC or even convention cosplay setups. The head itself is in a interesting skin color that we never normally get from LEGO. It's always pretty rare to get figures that are not just using the standard nougat color of skin tone, so it's very nice to see some representation there. And overall, I just really like the way this figure is designed in general, having a lot of effort and detail put into it to really make this something special. And the yellow lines on the black plastic are very crisp, especially from what I'm used to for the LEGO group. With that though, we can now move on to our number 2 pick, and that is Mad Eye Moody from the LEGO Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts collectible series. This, much like Percival Graves, is another dual figure. First side is supposed to depict the Mad Eye Moody character, and the second side is supposed to depict David Tennant's character, Barty Crouch Jr., which was actually impersonating Mad Eye Moody in the movie. Now this is a really cool setup because, of course, we have a very specialized dual molded leg here. One leg is in silver and one leg is in dark blue, so that is a really cool thing to get in my opinion, and it actually uses a really great recolor of the maracas piece with gold and brown to simulate a flask, which is supposed to represent the polyjuice potion that Barty Crouch Jr. in disguise was continuously drinking to keep up appearances as Mad Eye Moody. All in all, this is a really nicely detailed character. I love the way that the eye came out. It truly looks absolutely fantastic. The new hairpiece was also created just for this figure, which is still in use today, but it really does depict a nicely detailed style of hairpiece that really is just useful beyond licensed characters. And again, I love the fact that for collectible minifigures, this is 2 characters in one. And that is what makes this really special to me. But with that, we can now move on to our top number 1 favorite collectible minifigure from the entire year of 2018, and that is the dragon suit guy from the costume characters of CMFs. This is just a really charming character to me. You can see that it has a full-on dragon head sculpt. It's a minifigure in a dragon costume, but if you wanted it to, you could easily make it an anthropomorphic style dragon. Just put a black head underneath, or better yet, put in one of the large mouth style heads from the LEGO Atlantis series. You could do a lot of stuff with this that doesn't just define it as a person wearing a costume. One thing that I feel is really special is the tail on the back. It's a very specialized mold that is actually painted to have the black spikes alongside the red tail, and I think it's just really cool to see this in general, especially because it's a specialized piece for this minifigure that absolutely can be used in a lot of different scenarios. The red wings were also reused from the Monster series of collectible minifigures here, this time in red, and I think that's a really good choice for the wing pieces. They are a little small for this dragon in particular. Video would actually do it a lot better just last year in terms of the dragon figure, but for what it was at the time, this is really cool. And I love the specialized dark black scale printing on the sides of the arms. It just adds to the overall look and feel of this character. It's easily my favorite costume minifigure from the series. It's probably one of my favorite costume minifigures in general. It just looks really, really fun as a minifigure dressed up as a fully detailed dragon. And with that, we have summed up our list for the top 10 best collectible minifigs of 2018.
Alright, and with that, we have summed up my personal favorite, and in my opinion, the best top 10 collectible minifigures of 2018. There was a lot to cover here, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Do let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and stay tuned next time where we travel 1 year back in the past, taking a look at 2017, both the CMFs and non-CMFs. As usual, subscribe to Duckbricks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks so much, and bye-bye for now.